All
Let's.
the best. Chalo.
Yeah, we are live actually. So, fun chat behind the scenes, but continuing the same. Hey guys, uh, so I'll take the spotlight. Thank you so much. Hey guys, welcome back to the product and design series hosted by Design Sundays and Design Jungle. Here we are getting some of the best minds in the industry to share their insights, learnings, and some of the tricks and tips they have been using in their careers to share with you. And in and I just noticed like 5 seconds ago that we have actually done 10. This is the 10th episode. I think it's 11th. I think something like that. So it's been a crazy journey, and we have hosted some of the amazing people in the past. So if you haven't checked out, do check out our playlist. It's amazing. Today, talking about the speaker we have for today, she is someone who actually worked a lot in UX and technology in India, and now she is having the same kind of fun and creating amazing experiences in Netherlands, right? And I'm so happy to invite Mehek here. She graduated from NIFT doing MDes. Then she worked with some of the amazing companies like People Design, Medcord, and now she's working with the Next Packs. I would like to invite Mehek to the screen now. Hi, Mehek. How are you?
Hi, hi Rohan, hi Jagriti. Thank you for having me in this session, and hi everyone else who's watching this. So I hope we learned something today from the session.
You have a presentation for us, right?
Yes, of course, I would like to start with it. So, but before that, let me also give a brief introduction about myself. So I'm Mehek, as every one of you already know by now, and I'm a master's in design. I did my post graduation from NIFT in India, and I worked there briefly for approximately like 1.5 years before moving here to Netherlands. The reason I moved, like I get this question a lot. So the reason I moved is because I got married, and my husband works here. So no, I don't know how to process a visa or how to look for a job in Netherlands while being in India. So I get all these questions a lot. So let me clarify this right away. And yeah, so I'm working here since almost 1 year now, and the company I'm working with right now is Nextpacks. It's a travel technology company, and today in this session, I will be covering stuff about B2B and SaaS products. So the stuff that you usually do not find on websites like Dribble or Behance. So I also get this question a lot that if you are asked to design products for SaaS or B2B industry, how do you go about it? And there are companies who specifically want designers who have that kind of portfolio. So how do you build a portfolio without having an experience in that industry? So yeah, let me know, and we will start with the session.
Awesome. So Rohan, I think we can have her presentation on the screen.
Yeah,
So
okay,
Mehak, you can start sharing your presentation and it will be on the screen.
sure. I guess it is right.
Yeah, we can see it.
Ah, cool. So yes, I already introduced myself. Okay, so let me also share my journey. So the three major things that I believe that shaped my journey was first my passion for writing since I was a child. So I guess writing is very important when it comes to design because if you can articulate your thoughts, you can articulate your thoughts in a written manner. Then you can of course design stuff that is there in your mind. So I did not know what design was. UX design was a new term to me when I was doing my graduation. So, and back in 2015 or 16, not a lot of people were aware about UX design or product design. So it was new for me as well. But I was interested in writing and I was a creative person at heart. So that is where I found my interest for design as well. And because I was interested in technology since a very long time and I was doing bachelor's in it, so that is how my journey kind of shaped itself into UX and product side. And now coming on to B2B SaaS and XaaS. So just to give a brief introduction, B2B is business to business in simple terms. So a product that is used by not just end users, but a business that further develops products for end users. So for example, like you and I are designers. So whoever watching this might also be a designer. So we are designing products for end users, but the product that we are using, so for example, Figma or Adobe XD, they are the B2B products. So someone is also designing Figma and someone is also designing Adobe XD. So that is what a B2B product is all about. So when you're designing, not exactly just for the end user, but also for the business. So many agencies are also using such design products. And SaaS is, in short, software as a service. So it's a cloud-based, pay-per-use, and flexible tool that can be customized according to different businesses. So SaaS is nothing but providing software as a service. For example, there are industries that have custom app development projects. So what happens is, if you are an industry who needs a very very specific product only for your maybe workers, let's say, if you are, let's say, you are McDonald's and you need a product to manage the staff in the backend. So you will not do that on a Facebook group. You cannot build a group on WhatsApp. You need a proper product where you can mark the maybe the attendance, the salary, and everything related to your staff. So building that product is like hard because you need a lot of manpower. You need developers, designers. So what companies are doing is they provide SaaS as like software as a service. They provide you with an option to choose a software, customize it, and pay only for the part that you are using. So an XaaS is nothing but it can be just anything as a service. So in future, with cloud storage and with cheaper rates of cloud and not hosting it on your premise, cloud is going to be cheap. And that is the reason a lot of things can be offered as a service. For example, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, database as a service. So Facebook and Google is not exactly social media, I would say, but it is database as a service because they collect a lot of user data and they give it out to other companies. They sell it, or however they use that data is up to them. But more than social media, they are working as database as a service. So yeah. And the reason why a lot of information is not available in this domain is because a lot of products were firstly developed in offshore development center environments. So many of them still are being developed in closed environments. Many companies did not find the need to think about those products from design perspective. So when you're talking about a small product, you think that you don't need designers, just a developer is enough. Or maybe you need this product only for like 10 people working in your staff. So why should you work so much with designers or product managers? So it's okay if you can just develop it. Doesn't matter how it looks or works, even if it is bad or even if it is very hard to work. So it's okay, because companies don't want to spend a lot on design. They want cheaper products, they want fast deliveries. So UX maturity of those companies was still low. But now with SaaS, what is happening is a lot of tools and softwares are being provided for cheap prices, and just on a pay-per-use basis. So companies don't have to go for a custom app development anymore. They will rather prefer another organization that is giving them a similar product at a cheaper price. So they will buy that product from them and use it only how much they want to use it, or maybe customize it. So because SaaS has become a thing, that is the reason now B2B and SaaS products are also they are focusing a lot on design. They're focusing a lot on the aesthetic and UI part as well, because now they can. So apart from that, why a lot of information is not available in B2B SaaS is because there are a lot of security issues, confidentiality issues. The user base is not too much. Like Instagram is, I guess, being used by 1 billion people. But think about it, like how many people use a Starbucks backend software? Not much, right? Only people at Starbucks. So the users are very limited, and it's a niche product. Like it's built only for an industry or maybe a company. And because of these issues, you will not find these products on websites like Dribble or Behance. And even as a designer, let's say I have worked on a project for Starbucks. Because of the confidentiality issues and security reasons, I will not be allowed to upload that project anywhere. So I cannot share that product on Dribble or on Behance, or for the other designers to look at it. So that's the reason you will not find information on B2B or SaaS products online. But then, how to solve user problems in such products where users are not readily available, where you can't do a lot of user research because the users itself are very less. So how do you go about that? So the first thing is common sense. I believe that UX is a lot about common sense, and UX is also a lot about analytical thinking and critical analysis. So it's not rocket science. So you can discuss with your internal teams, you can discuss with the developers and your product manager if you are facing any kind of problems. And I guess one way to solve any problem when it comes to any product where users are not available is stepping into the shoes of the users and thinking from their perspective, like, what would a user do if he was about to sign up on my app? Will he face any problems? Will he be able to complete the journey without any issues? So that is something we called SUM, or synthetic user monitoring. So synthetic user monitoring is like pretending to be a user, or imitating the journey of a user from different directions. So if you are in one place in the website or application, how will you go to the other place? So will you find a problem doing that? So if yes, then how can you solve that problem? How can you make it easy? So these are the ways that you can solve problems in B2B and SaaS products. And then the ultimate way is obviously to have real user feedback and do real user research. But many times that becomes a bottleneck to a lot of projects, because B2B and SaaS products, as I told you, are very niche and very industry specific. And now the biggest question that I get asked all the time: how to add such projects to your portfolio? So the first thing is, go on Google or internet and do your research, but don't look for such projects on Dribble or Behance, because honestly, you will not find them, and you will not find good projects, like good B2B SaaS projects to take inspiration from. So a proper research about different business tools that are being in different industries, what they look right now, and how do you think you can improve them? How do you think you can improve them aesthetically? How do you think you can improve them functionally? And then you can add them to your portfolio and present it. It's like a redesign itself, but not redesigning Facebook or Twitter, but redesigning a product that is being used in a SaaS environment. So I've also pulled one example for you guys that you can look at, and that is ServiceNow. ServiceNow is a product that is being used by a lot of companies and a lot of industries right now, and it's like a dashboard system where you can do anything. So the reason I'm sharing this example is because I have seen how it works, and I have seen how a ServiceNow developer works, because my husband is a ServiceNow developer. So yeah, he gave me a walkthrough of this product, and there are things that can be improved from UX side. But what happens is, ServiceNow has hired their own designers. So ServiceNow is a company like Microsoft and Google. So ServiceNow is giving this product to different companies to use. So ServiceNow has hired their own designers and their own developers also to build this dashboard. But there are ServiceNow developers as well, working in different companies, who work on this dashboard and build other products. So it might get complicated. So I will explain it in a simpler way. Think about this: like me and you, we are using tools like Adobe XD or Figma. So there are people who are designing Figma, and there are people who are designing on Figma. So if I am a UX designer who's working in the design team of Figma as a product, so if I'm working in Figma in the company, so then I will be only working on the tool, the interface. Then I'll be solving problems that designers will face. who are using Figma. But if I'm using Figma, then I'll be designing different products for other industries and other companies. ServiceNow is not exactly the same thing, but more or less the same thing. So I believe that ServiceNow has a lot of scope when it comes to UX or product design. So it can be made better. There are a lot of things that can be improved aesthetically. So if there are 100 people watching this YouTube live right now, and all 100 of us decide to pick up one module of ServiceNow and redesign it, I guess even then none of our portfolios will look the same, because ServiceNow is that vast. We can have 100 different modules to redesign and look at. So this is one screen, like you can see, this is like a dashboard kind of screen where there are instances and there is a lot of information. So another thing about B2B and SaaS products is that you might have to work with a lot of data. So data visualization is something that you should work on if you want to include such projects in your portfolio. So data visualization has to be, you need to learn it, you need to go through it, and you should be good at it. And also for this entire live session, I also thought I'll talk a bit about machine learning and artificial intelligence in UX design. So there are three types of machine learning. So first is supervised, then unsupervised, and finally semi-supervised. For supervised, the training data includes the output. So to keep things simple, I've also included simple examples that you can understand. So for supervised machine learning model, think about this: that the data tells the machine, or the brain, that the places higher than 1 meter are dangerous to jump from. It will include all the places, like a staircase, a terrace, a mountain, a building, and anything, right? And unsupervised data does not include output. So the data will only tell the brain that high places are dangerous, but it will not tell how high. And the semi-supervised is the training data that includes some output. So the data might tell the brain that high places are dangerous, including mountains and hills. So it will not tell you about staircase or terrace of a building. Now think about this: that a child tries the advice of a sibling. So when we all are young, we try some adventures. So he falls down, he hurts himself, and now he has learned from his experience that staircases are dangerous. So now he has added this thing to his knowledge. So next time, if that child will be around a staircase, he will not try to climb down or jump, because he has learned this thing from his experience. So this is a way that the child has programmed his mind through experience. So machine learning is similar, programming, reprogramming, learning, and becoming better. So when we talk about machine learning algorithms also, they work in exactly similar way. So in supervised machine learning, you tell the child that, hey, this anything that is higher than 1 meter is dangerous, don't go there. If you just tell the child that mountains are dangerous, he might try to climb down a staircase and jump and hurt himself, and then learn from that experience that not only mountains but even staircases are dangerous. So machine learning works in the same way. So in machine learning, what happens is you tell some things to the model, and the model learns from the environment and becomes smarter and smarter and smarter. And that's how the Transformer movie was made. So artificial intelligence or robotics can sometimes also get out of hand, but yeah, if you do that in a controlled way, so no, humanity will not be killed. And the other question is, do you need to know how to code to understand ML? No, absolutely not. What I just told you was more than enough, that you need to know as a designer, how machine learning works. You need to know about some algorithms that you can use in your designs, but machine learning is just that, supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised learning, and that's all. So as a designer, you just need to know the basics or the functioning, so that you can you can know what kind of features you can include in your designs and how you can design using machine learning. And the next thing is voice, conversational design, and voice gadgets or voice devices. So I guess everyone is using smartphones and devices like Alexa, Google Assistant, HomePod, and on iPhone you get Siri. So all these voice-based devices, they do nothing, but they just have they decode a conversation between a human voice and a natural language. So the machine, like Siri uses a natural language processing. So it's an NLP machine learning model to understand what command you are giving to it. So that is where voice UX and conversational design comes into play. So conversational design is nothing, it's just speech recognition and text speech conversion, and which is being used in physical gadgets. So when we talk about conversational design, so try asking Siri, hey Siri, who's the Prime Minister of India? So it will give you, hey, it's Narendra Modi right now. So what happens is Siri decoded the question that you're asking. It searched through the information it has, and it gave you an answer in in a tone or in a phrase or sentence that is human like. You don't really feel that you're talking to a machine, you feel like you're talking to a person. And that is where NLP algorithms come into play. They try to make the machines smart enough so that you don't feel like you're talking to a machine. You will feel like you're having a real conversation with a real person. So I don't know how many of you have seen the session where Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, he made an appointment using Google Assistant with a hair cutting salon or something. He did it in a live session in I guess like a year or 2 years ago. So that is how advanced the machines are going to be in future. And as a UX designer, you need to understand how voice UX works and how a conversational designer works. So I'll give you just a brief overview about it. So let's say you ask Siri, hey, do you know where is, let's say, uh, like, where is Kedarnath, for example? I'm not able to recall anything else. Okay, so hey Siri, where is Kedarnath? Do you know where is Kedarnath? It will say, yes, I know. But is this answer useful? No. Siri knows where that place is. That is not enough. So you also need more context. So as a voice UX designer, you need to understand what kind of questions people can ask and how your machine or your application should respond to it. It should not just say yes or no. It should give more context so that users can get information, users can get useful results out of it. So that's how as a voice UX designer, you need to design conversations. Like, you need to think about all the questions and scenarios that the users can ask, and then you need to think about the answers that your machine should give. So how voice UX designer works is by designing conversations, by designing contexts, and by designing exit points. Now think about this. In a voice device or a gadget, you do not have a screen. So let's say you have Alexa or Google HomePod. The user does not have a screen. He cannot exit at any point. He cannot press escape button or come out. So if he is deep in a flow of a conversation, how should he come out? So that is the job of a voice UX designer or conversational designer, to design exit points as well, and also to design conversations in a way that are relatable. So for example, sometimes you might notice, like, now the devices have become really smart, but 3 years back or maybe 4 years back, I had an iPhone, and I asked Siri, like, who is the Prime Minister of India? It said Narendra Modi. And then I asked it, how old is he? And it gave me a correct answer. And in the third question, I asked, like, is he married? So it lost the context. Siri lost the context, and Siri asked me, I did not get you. What did you say? So as a voice UX designer, you also need to understand that keeping context of a conversation for a user is very important. You need to design conversations in a way that the machine understands that which question is related to the previous one and which question is not. So right now, it might be a bit overwhelming, or the information might be too much to understand. But yeah, you can, like, go back and see, how it works. So I'll also give you a bit overview of NLP. What is natural language processing? So, in simple words, NLP is a machine learning algorithm that helps the machine to decode, understand, and even write human language. So, it is divided into two categories: semantics and syntax. Syntax is a meaningful sentence that can be constructed by using right arrangement of words, and semantics refers to extracting or providing meaning to a group of words or sentences. No, you don't need to go into so much technical detail. Just think about this. There are so many ways to ask a question, right? So if you are hungry, you can ask Siri, Siri, I'm hungry. So it will suggest you restaurants near you. It will suggest you places you can order food from. And maybe it will suggest you some recipes that you can cook right in your kitchen. So that is how the machine understands that hunger means these different things. Hunger can mean a restaurant, hunger can mean recipes for the kitchen, hunger can also mean some applications inside your phone like Uber Eats or Zomato or Swiggy, from where you can just go and order food. So that is how natural language processing works. At, in a machine, a designer or maybe a machine learning expert or programmer, they feed such information that if a user asks you this question, these can be the possibilities of the answers. So that is how the basics of NLP work. So NLP does not really work on phrases or sentences. It works on action words. So you can ask, you can get similar results with 10 different questions. You can ask Siri that I'm hungry. You can ask Siri, can I order some food? You can ask Siri, hey, can you suggest me some different recipes that I can cook? You can ask Siri, where is the Chinese restaurant I can order food from? So it will give you similar results. So because they work on action words. So let me give you even simpler example. So let's say you want Alexa to play a song for you. So there are like 100 ways you can tell Alexa to do that. Hey Alexa, play a song of Justin Bieber for me. Hey Alexa, I want to listen to Justin Bieber. Hey Alexa, play a particular song, like play Yummy from Justin Bieber for me, or maybe Yummy from Justin Bieber. Just that. So Alexa will, ignore the words that don't really mean anything. Like it will ignore hey, it will ignore, other redundant details, but it will pick up the action word, like play a song. Alexa will pick that up and it performs an action based upon your command. So natural language processing is exactly that. So what can you achieve with NLP? You can achieve like a million things. As a designer, if you understand how NLP works, you can include such features in your designs. You can suggest new features in your designs, and you can achieve basically anything. So it can help you achieve analyzing text from books or documents, decoding the prescriptions of doctors, personalized and accurate chatbots, brand reputation, sentiment analyses. Now, look at just this session, this YouTube session. It's almost going to be 1 hour long. You think everyone has that much time to, sit in a place and then listen to 1 hour long conversation? Not everyone. And honestly, not everyone will do that. So, as a designer, if I have to suggest a feature to YouTube, it can be, a feature where you decode a video or maybe audio from that video and just give me important information out of it, or maybe convert it into a PDF so that I can read it whenever I'm free. And in that PDF also, I want just the important information highlighted. So my task is saved, my time is saved. So I don't have to go through 1 hour long video and just sit there and try to understand what is being said. I can just save this entire video as a PDF or maybe as highlighted notes and then refer to it whenever I want to. So that can be a feature that I can suggest YouTube that can be achieved with NLP. So I will also briefly cover 6 industries in which NLP can be used and it can be revolutionary. First is education. So summarizing books, audio, podcasts, videos, and highlighting important stuff. Just the thing I talked about. Second is e-commerce. So personalized and customized experiences, more informed response systems. So when you call customer care center, it's very annoying when they say press 1 for English, Hindi ke liye do dabaye. So instead of that, you just call the customer care center, you tell them this is my problem, and they give you the exact answer. So much time is saved. You don't have to wait for a real agent to come online or talk to you. You just get your answer and you just continue doing anything you want in your life. You don't sit on the phone and wait for a real agent to appear to solve your problem. And then integrated tech into retail like VR glasses. So this all can be achieved with NLP. Then the third industry is fintech and banking. So you can have a very quick information analysis and more reliable chatbots. And So information analysis in banking is really important. So if you want to open a bank account, imagine how many forms you have to fill. There's so much paperwork that you have to do. Now imagine that you can do that just in an application. Like just fill a form in an application, upload your documents. Now it is being possible because the information is verified using machine learning algorithms. So there are no people who are actually, sitting on the back end and going through every single piece of information and then verifying whether this person's bank account should be opened or not. Instead of that, they have sophisticated machine learning models who verify that information and who can also immediately see that this piece of information is wrong, or maybe this document is not original. So that is more reliable than human intervention. And then healthcare tech. I have also worked in healthcare tech as a designer, so I understand, NLP has a great future in healthcare. So you can build accurate patient profiles, you can have prescriptions and reports and scans, you can analyze those prescriptions, and you can extract keywords. So understanding language or handwriting of a doctor is very difficult. So how about an application where you can just scan your prescription and it tells you exactly the medicine that is written, or it just exactly tells you your blood pressure count, how much is your systolic blood pressure, how much is your diastolic blood pressure, and everything from just a scan. So achieving these kinds of things is absolutely possible, all with NLP. And you can also utilize speech to text models. So in Western countries, like in US, it's a law that whenever a patient visits a doctor, the entire conversation has to be recorded. So so this is done so that later on that conversation can be referred, and if the doctor has mentioned some medicines, those medicines can also be, if the patient doesn't remember them, it's a task. So that's why they record the conversations, and healthcare conversations are absolutely important, because later on, if a wrong medicine is prescribed to a patient, if a patient dies, so then they have a proof that, okay, this doctor is the one who recommended this. So that's why there are so many recordings of patients and doctor conversations, and those recordings can be, keywords can be extracted from them. Those recordings can be converted to PDF. Those recordings can be converted to text, and then keywords and important information can be extracted from that text. And the fifth is travel technology. Right now, I'm working in travel technology. So, yes, NLP can be used there as well. So, you can present customized deals, rental offers, and vacation packages to people. You can analyze social media information to predict trends and interests. So, for example, I am in Europe right now. So now I don't get suggestions to visit Jaipur or Rajasthan anymore. I get suggestions to visit France, Germany, and the countries that are near me. So that is how results for every single user can be customized. And finally, social media. We all know how social media has been used in the past, and how like Facebook and Cambridge Analytica scandal was all over the internet in the last US elections. So yes, NLP has already been used in social media. It will continue being used there, but in social media, I believe that there is a need to have more ethical information handling and laws that prevent a misuse of information. And also, I will just give a little bit context about OpenAI and GPT-3. We will not get into the details. So OpenAI is an initiative taken by Elon Musk and some other supporters who believe that artificial intelligence should not get into the hands of one organization or one government, and it should not be you can say ruled on by these things. So it should be decentralized. It should be available to everybody. It should not turn into a monopoly. So GPT-3 is a generative pre-trained transformer. So it's an algorithm that allows humans to communicate with machines in simple English. So think about this. If you ask a GPT model to build a header bar with these options, you just have to type that I need home, contact, about us, aligned to center in black text color, header being 100 pixel of height and pink background. And this is the result you will see. So you wrote your command in simple English language. You did not use any coding language or any syntax or any rules. You just wrote what you want in simple English language, and it gave you that. So you can just, after this session, you can go to YouTube or Google and see how GPT-3 works, and it's amazing actually. So there is also a dark side of everything. I discussed pretty much, how the last elections were influenced. And yes, like information data misuse is really common, so that can happen in any industry. It can happen in banking, it can happen in healthcare. So yes, ethical use of data is very important. uh, and another question: will designers or programmers be required in future? So I get this question a lot. When you talk about technology that is so advanced, you start to doubt whether you will be relevant or not. So yes, you will be. Designers will be still required, programmers will also be required. So it's not like you are going to get obsolete or designers will not be needed. So even if there are sophisticated machine learning algorithms or AI models that can design everything on their own, there still will be designers who will be needed to monitor the final outcome, who will be needed to consult, who will be needed to build better designs. So there, I think designers have a long way to go. Really, we are just starting out. So no, this industry is not dying, and no, we will not be redundant. Thank you for being so patient. So yes, over to the hosts, I think. I guess
Yeah,
you're on
that's
mute.
embarrassing. Yeah, I was on mute. Thank you so much for the amazing session. It was really good. And personally, for me, there are a lot of things that I heard, and some of that was really new information for me as well. And I really like the point that you made that no, design is not going to be obsolete. Nobody is taking your jobs away. AI is not going to take your job away, because that's a concern that many people who are now starting out, they have this concern that probably we are transitioning from something else and I'm coming to this industry, and is it going to be obsolete, is my going job going away? So it was good to hear that from you. So thank you for the session. There are a lot of questions that we have, but before that I would like to start with a very very fundamental question, because some of them I could see that some of them there are some of the people who have joined a UX session for the first time. So I kind of want to set up a context for especially those people that I know that you work on a B2B product, and you are working in a multidisciplinary team. So working in a UX team for B2B with a multidisciplinary team, it's a different ball game. So I just want to have some context for those people that how does your day, what does your day look like day to day? What are the kind of activities that you're involved in? How is it, what kind of work do you do? Just to set up that bit of a context, I think that would be
Yeah,
really
of course,
great to hear.
absolutely. So right now I'm working as just the only designer in the team. So things are different because I'm working in a startup. It's a very small team. But when I was working back in India in Tempe, so that was the time I was working in the design team with my product manager and some other people. So I will talk about how my day looks like right now. So now I usually wake up to a daily stand-up where you just have to talk about what are your agendas for the week, what did you achieve in last week, and so on. And then I have some meetings scheduled with the CTO and the product manager just to go through, the agendas that I described for the week. And then we go through the stuff that is being done by the development team. And as a designer, I also have to monitor whether my designs are being translated into the product just the way I designed them, or maybe there are some changes that I need to recommend. So after doing that, it's almost afternoon by the time we are done with that. And then I have some more meetings with the product manager to discuss the bottlenecks or the issues that I'm facing if I have to design something. And if I don't have maybe user data, so then I talk to the people. And right now, the product that I'm designing, thankfully, we have a lot of users in touch who constantly keep using the product as well, and also go through whatever I design. So if I'm designing something, I keep sharing the prototypes with them so that they can just go through it and see if I'm missing something. So uh, yeah, mostly the day is like that. And then if I have some time, I also design screens actually.
That's good. So the reason why I asked this is also because I talk to a lot of designers, and as you mentioned, research, right? That kind of becomes like you are a one woman army, so to say. You're doing it all alone. You're doing research, you're designing screens, you're doing meetings. So I just want to understand very quickly, like, what is like that sort of research that you do, and how you have kind of found your way around it. How have you gained those sort of
Yeah, so
expertise? So
about
yeah.
research, actually I started with I started my internship as just after college. No, I was in college actually when I was interning with people design. So that was the time I learned everything about UX research. So how to conduct user interviews, how to talk to people, how to conduct focus group discussions. So I did almost everything while I was working with them, and it was a good time because I got to work with a lot of amazing people who are doing very well in the industry right now. So uh, I try to put my knowledge from that internship into practice now. So it's different because you don't really have a studio or a lab where you can actually perform proper research. So for a proper research, you need a lot of resources and a research team who can dedicate themselves to actual, doing just user research for the company. So as a designer, it's very difficult to do both things by the side. So right now, what I am doing is at maximum, I just do A/B testing. I'm not able to do any other user research because I don't have the time and I don't have the resources. And third, the startup that I'm working with is a really fast-paced startup. Like till December, we have big goals to achieve. So yeah, so if you spend too much time on just doing the research and not delivering anything else, so it will just like you can't achieve your goals. So for that, you need to have a strategy in mind. Right now, we are just going with A/B testing. So next, maybe in January, if we make the product live, so maybe then we get some other user feedback as well, and then maybe we try to include that as well in our agenda. But right now, it's mostly A/B testing.
Yeah, that's good. Like, at least measuring something is better than not doing anything. So, as you said, like having a strategy and having a reason for having that strategy is what matters. And then, like everything is, you have a game plan. That's what is needed. So we have some really interesting questions. So Shubham has asked, how much domain expertise or knowledge should a designer have to solve
Yeah,
B2B problems? Do you
absolutely,
feel it's
100%.
important?
If you're working in healthcare and you don't know what a diastolic and systolic blood pressure is, it's going to be a problem for you. So, as a designer who's working in, doesn't matter if it's a healthcare or a travel industry or any industry for that matter, you need to have context of the industry. That's most important. And secondly, you need to understand how the product that you're designing is working for the users and how you can improve their experience. So if you can't do that, if you don't understand how the product works or what goals it's trying to achieve, so how are you supposed to design? So for designing, you need to have a complete context, from signing up to logging out. You need to know everything, the entire journey. So yes, you need to have domain knowledge.
Okay, and in so let's talk about you, right? So when you started out, of course, like you were a design student, and then you were there in the industry, and first you picked up very specific domains. You started with healthcare. So what, like, who are the people? Did you talk to the people inside the organization, or did you actually went and sat with the doctors? Like, how was that journey for you? How did you familiarize yourself with getting to know the domain? Like, how did you get that
Yeah,
expertise?
when I was working in the first company, it was a healthcare tech company, and at that time, thankfully, they had two doctors who were working in house with them. So,
Awesome.
for the first entire month, or maybe I guess 2 months, we were just trying to learn the medical terms. So
Mm.
that I did not even know how a BP is measured, the blood pressure. But after working there, I got to know about so much things in healthcare, like the names of the medicine from the different scans and reports and tests. Like, what is a CT scan, what scan, this report, that report. So you need to understand everything because we also had, icons for every single action in the app. So if you don't know what that is, how can you design an icon? So and they needed specific items, of course, because the application had some really specific menu items or options. So we talked to doctors, we talked to the doctors in the field as well, not only just the doctors that were working in house. but also the doctors on the field who were using the application, because I was designing the doctor's portal at that time. So I needed to talk to people who are actually using that portal to understand, what is the goal that they're trying to achieve. And as a doctor, you are a very, very busy person. Right now, I can't even imagine, like in the time of this pandemic and coronavirus, how doctors might be handling their routine. But one thing is sure, that they are very busy and they don't want to waste even 5 minutes on signing up on an application. So that needs everything needs to be very quick and readily available to them.
That's true. And the stakes are very high as well. Like, what happens if some information is not rightly processed? Then what happens, right? It's about life and death.
For healthcare, it's very difficult.
Right. So, Ankur has asked, Hi Mehek, regarding SaaS products, I too work on such projects. Sometimes such products trying to solve similar UX problem. How one can inspire seeing other such products as access is always restricted. I think what he's trying to say is that how do you look for competing products or, the similar, because all are B2B and the access is restricted. So how do you go about that?
Yes, the first thing is, apart from user research, because I know for SaaS or B2B products, even finding users or, talking to users can be a challenge, because most of the time you're dealing with confidential information that people are not allowed to share and that organizations will not allow you to have access to. So yes, you have a lot of problems when you're designing a B2B SaaS environment. So when you're trying to solve any UX problem, uh, I say this again. I've said this before. Think about just the user and work with common sense, because UX is nothing but common sense. It's
That's true.
not rocket science. It's not something like, you need to read 10 books for it. If you are using a product and you are finding it difficult to use, it's badly designed. If you're using a product that is amazing, it's well designed. So you can take inspiration from any product for that matter. But when it comes to SaaS or B2B, I guess more than seeing the competitive the products, you need to understand how you can make things simple for your user. So it's like that. So you don't need to actually, have access to your competitors' the products or maybe the application that they are using. You just need to see what kind of problems your users might face. You need to step into the shoes of your users, think from their perspective, and just simplify the process as much as you can. You should see the processes that are not necessary. If something is redundant and the user has to do it, question it. Like, ask yourself again and again, why this step? Why this piece of information? Why that? If you are also handling data, a lot of data. So as I said, data visualization is one of the most important things in SaaS and B2B product design. So in data also, you need to make the call. Which piece of data is most important that has to be there on the screen, and which piece of data is the least important that can be hidden in maybe a more option or maybe somewhere else. So as a designer, it should be your call. So you just need to simplify, you just need to visualize the data in a better manner, and finally, you just need to think from perspective of a user, and you will get all the answers.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned that, sometimes you need to know your users more than what you need to see outside. Also, because, if we talk specifically in terms of UI patterns, there are only so many user patterns, right? There won't be any new ways to maybe show the navigation, but it's just the same thing that what is it, what is redundant, what is the problem that your customers might be facing, which are unique, and then there could be inspiration from products that may be actually readily available. Can you use the same thing in your product? That's innovation, right? Like using the exact same something which is in different context being used, using that in your solution. So yeah, that might be a good call. So Rohan Raj asked how to empathize with user when a B2B platform is going to be used by wide variety of users. Say for ServiceNow, it is used by support agents as well as by CXOs. How to care for so many personas? Rohan Raj actually I think he works with ServiceNow as well. So yeah, he's asking that there are so many personas, like from all ladders, like everywhere. So how do you then define something which is common to everybody?
See, when it's when you are working in any B2B or SaaS product that is extensive, that has to be used by an array of users. Again, the first thing is simplicity. It has to be simple and the information should be immediately available. You can't hide important stuff. And for service now, like, okay, it's used by support agents and Salesforce, how to clear for so many personas. So you need to understand, just in like one line, what is the support agent trying to achieve on the platform? Is he able to do that? And what is the CXO trying to achieve on the platform? Is he able to do that? So I'll simplify this for all the other viewers as well. For example, there is a website that is being used by two different personas. For example, LinkedIn. I am someone who's looking for a job on LinkedIn, and let's say you are someone who is looking for a candidate. So how simple is LinkedIn for me to find a job? And how simple is LinkedIn for the recruiter to find a candidate? So that is where you define different users for one single product that can be as extensive as you can make it. So uh, what matters is, uh, you know, the availability of information, the simplicity of platform, and copywriting. In this case, copywriting is important because you cannot use complex words that will confuse your users. That is the reason, most of the platforms nowadays have started looking more or less the same. So if you go to Facebook or LinkedIn, they look very similar. On LinkedIn now they have also added that like double tap like thing, like that's there on Instagram. So why they're doing this is so that the user's learning curve is reduced. So if I am using Facebook every day, it will be very easy for me to use LinkedIn because both the platforms have similar action items. Like there is like, there is comment, there is share. So these three things are common on LinkedIn and Facebook. Doesn't matter that those two platforms are being used for completely, entirely different, you can say different goals. On Facebook, I might be connecting with my family or friends. On LinkedIn, I'm finding a job. So, but
Yeah.
platforms look so similar that I don't have to learn something to go on LinkedIn. And that is the reason when you're designing for one product with different multiple users, you need to boil down that entire problem into just one single statement. Like why, what are they trying to achieve? And why would a service agent want to use ServiceNow? What is something that he is finding on ServiceNow that is making his life simple? So you need to enhance that and you need to work on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just the fact that, as you mentioned, that if you can simplify it, and the needs might actually be common. So it may look like that somebody's a CXO and somebody's a service agent, but it might happen that the need might be very much similar. So that's a very good point you made, and also about the fact that learning curve, right? So there are a lot of things that your user might have come for the first time, but these are the behaviors that they anticipate. So for example, double like is something that now people have started associating with that, to the liking so much that they might go to another product and they might actually double tap and realize, oh, this doesn't work, why don't they do it? So this is a lot about the anticipation and the mental models being made in such a way that now people anticipate a lot of things, and if you're not designing for them, then yes, maybe you are lacking something. So yeah, that's also something that you said, and it completely makes sense.
Of course.
So, Divyang says how web based and mobile app based UI should be different from design point of view. So, yeah. So, I think what he's trying to say is that is there any difference between web based and mobile app based UI? Like, are they different?
Yes, of course, because on web you have a lot of space. On mobile you don't. And on web you can, send your user anywhere because they're using a mouse or maybe a touch pointer that is easy to navigate through. But when you talk about a mobile phone, most of the users use only one hand, either left or right. So that's the reason you need to keep most important menu items, let's say, on the bottom, so that they are accessible with just one thumb. You don't have to do this and, and lose the context. So yes, web and mobile based UI are very different from space perspective also and from information perspective also.
Right. Shubham has another question. He asked that, so yeah, basically he has written two questions. I'll merge it. So he says that a lot of times, if there are B2B products, especially, it requires a training. So there is somebody who is going to onboard you. There's somebody who's going to train you, and then you are able to work on it. So can we have an element of self onboarding, and how can that be done? Like so that there is no time, money budget that's involved just for the training, and the user can come and get started?
Yeah, very, very simple answer to that is demo. Have a short demo for your users that they can go through, maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes of a
Mhm.
video or a prototype kind of thing that shows them how this product works. So in that case, the onboarding budget will be saved and the time also will be saved. So creating a demo is also up to the designer. If the product is working very simply, it's simple to use, it's easy to navigate through. You can create that demo and send it out to all your users who buy that product, and then they can go through it and then start using it.
Yeah, that's cool. So I know, Mehek, based on like through your LinkedIn, etc., that I think writing is something which I don't know, that's my guess probably, that it helps you a lot in articulation, and that is something that you mentioned as well. So this might be a little detour from the topic, but I would still like to know from you that how do you think has writing helped you, and why do you think it's a skill that designers might actually want to have, and how has it helped you as a designer?
Yeah, writing is personally it always use writing to vent out my frustration. When I was a kid, I have written a lot of diaries. I used to write journals. So even in the time when I did not know what UX design is, I was definitely writing. So writing has been with me since school time. So it's something I've been doing since I was a kid. But now, when I see, like, when you look back, how writing improves you as a person. Now I think that writing not only helps me, articulate my thoughts, but it also put in me the habit of reading. I read a lot. Like I
Hmm.
read a lot of books and a lot of articles and stories on Medium. And when you read a lot, you take in a lot of information. That is how I keep myself informed about stuff like machine learning algorithms or maybe GPT-3, the one that I talked about today. I just read a story about it a few days back, and then I tried it out on YouTube. So if I don't read, I will not keep myself updated about what's happening in the world. So writing not only helps you articulate your thoughts, but it also helps you structure the information. See, if you're writing anything, let's say you're just writing a fiction story about how a boy and a girl fell in love, so the story has to have an introduction, it should have a concept, and then it should have a conclusion. So without these three things, the flow in the story is missing. So to create that flow, your thoughts should be in right place. So I guess when you are writing anything, may it be a fiction story or a story about UX design process, let's say, there is a thought process that you follow. And when you follow that thought process in your mind also, it helps you structure your thoughts. And when you do that, and when you then later on when you sit down to design something, that same structure that happened, it follows. As a designer also, it helps you make your life easy. So that's why I personally think that writing helps you a lot when it comes to structuring your thoughts, and when it comes to you can say giving a voice to your opinions. So
That's
that's
true.
very important. So, and now in future, I guess UX designers or product designers will also be required to have some copywriting skills. That's important because if your user is stuck somewhere, how do you want to come out to them? You don't want to scare them that, hey, you committed a mistake. You want to be empathetic towards them, and you give them a solution to come out of that problem. So that's where your copywriting skills will be tested. So yes, I believe designers need to write, need to learn to write.
Yeah. Yeah, because like as you said that you talked, I think I really loved the part where you kind of summed it up with the fact that how, so one is of course like from the personal development perspective, it's helpful, it helps you connect data and information, that's for sure, that's true. But how you also talked about how the experience of the product itself is dependent on how good of a writer you are. So again, it's also a lot about common sense, but how do you write succinctly in a way which is not rude? And that's because reading is such an essential, we are a content consumer generation, right? Everything is content, and it has to have a good experience. And if you're making, and especially when the users are so smart, earlier the users of our parents generation, they were so I would say they have a relationship of fear with the technology, where if something used to go wrong, they really used to think that it's their fault. They
Right.
might have done something wrong. But with this generation, they know that machine needs to be smart, so they have like really high expectations, and for that, reading is an essential part of it. So you need to read and write to be able to articulate your thoughts better. So yeah, that's a very good point that you made, Mehek. So one more question, Mehek, and this is a question that, because when I mentor, I get asked this question a lot, that there are people who have worked in B2C domain and now they are trying to make a switch to B2B, right? It might be I would say it might be just a matter of psychology or just a matter of identity, that it might not really matter to them. Like it may not actually matter to the recruiter, but sometimes internally for a designer, it matters a lot that we've not worked in B2B. We are coming from B2C, and now how do we look competent, right? How do we look relevant to this recruiter who is hiring for a B2B role? It's a big company and I don't have anything in my portfolio. So, what would be your suggestion? How would you go about it, or how you would have actually gone through preparing a portfolio, getting ready for the interview? What would be your recommendation for those designers?
Yeah, so doesn't matter if you're interviewing for a B2C product or a B2B product. So when you are interviewing, you don't want to come off as someone who doesn't know about the company or the product that you are going to design if you get hired. So the first thing that you should and you must always do is research about the company. Know what they're doing. That's important because you can't just be blank in the interview. If they ask you, about, hey, what do you know about us? Or, what do you think that you will be able to do once you come in the team? So you should have answers prepared to those questions really well. So the first thing is researching about the company and knowing what kind of products they are making and what kind of users they have. So if it's a B2C company, for example, let's say Zomato. So it's a B2C company, right? So people go there, order food, and the food comes to their doorstep. Fairly simple. As a user or maybe as a designer also, you understand how Zomato works. So if you're going to be, interviewing for a design position in Zomato, it's going to be fairly easy for you because you already understand because you are the user of that product. But when it comes to B2B products, which where you don't have access, you haven't seen that thing at all in your life, so then it's difficult because then you don't have the context. You don't know how that product is working or what is getting done in that in that industry. Then the first thing is researching about the company, researching about their competitors, because doesn't matter if you are interviewing for company A, if their competitor is company B, you also need to see what that company is doing or what is something that they are doing better, and then you can suggest that thing in your interview. That I also don't say that you're talking bad. Say that I also saw the product of company B and company C, and this is something that I liked in that product, and I think this is something that you should do to improve the experience of your users. So
Yeah.
what happens is when the recruiter is analyzing your profile, they will not think that you are a dumb person who has no background or context. They will always uh, put you on a higher pedestal because they will understand that you have not only researched about the company that you are interviewing for, but you have also researched about the companies that are competitors to that industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's such a nice way to actually be prepared. So let's say you don't have an access to a product, at least you can. So it's having a mindset of creating value. Like it's in a way it's value creation. Even when you are not inside the company, you are going with the mindset that I can still help them, and let me just try to have a conversation where, like, it doesn't even have to be that I, of course I want to be selected, but at least let me try my best, let me give my honest try, and
Yes.
let me do my research. And you would be surprised, Mehak, there are so many times that I have literally received resumes with PDF where they have not changed the name. So they might have changed this same resume to some company, the name remains the same, the cover letter is the same, the name is not right, and these are just such small thing which can have such huge impression. So I just wanted to kind of understand from you that what do you think about it, and it was really good to hear from you.
What
Okay.
I personally feel like grammatical and spelling mistakes are a big turn off. It should
Yeah,
not be your resume, CVs, or even your portfolio. So I believe,
absolutely.
if as a designer you are trying to interview or present your profile to someone, it should be like impeccable. It should be flawless.
Yes. It like you may not have like as a designer, like when you're trying to compile your portfolio, it might be that you're under pressure, you are like short on deadline, but to the recruiter, it might just feel that you don't care enough. That's how it come across as that you don't care enough about your work, else you would have cross-checked it, and then it directly gets transposed into like if this person comes to the job, they'll do the same mistake. It might not happen, and that maybe it's not also right, but that's how it is, right? So it's good to be prepared for that.
For that, I believe you should send every single application thinking that you're sending that application to Google or Microsoft. You'll
Yeah.
not miss any.
That's an amazing. I would say that anybody who is trying right now, have that on a sticky note and just put it on your system so that you remember that. It's true. So Rohan has a question. He asked, how should a person train themselves for designing conversational systems? Recently, I was working with virtual agent, and it's really tough to design exit points.
Yes. So when you're designing conversational systems, it's mostly, as a designer, your work is around writing conversation. Like your work is around writing more than designing, because physically, like there is no screen for any conversational voice gadget. If you talk about Alexa also, there is no screen that the user can see where they can touch or do any perform any action. It's all through voice. So as a designer, your job is to design conversations, to design context and action items. So when you think about exit points, so exit point is something that it's not only the responsibility of a designer, but you must and you have to discuss this thing with the programmers or your product manager or maybe even the ML experts in your company, that how do you suggest that we should do this, because there are always ways to activate or deactivate a system. For example, Siri will not get activated unless you say hey Siri. So like Hey Siri is the you can say the signing in point or maybe the entry point into that system. So similarly, there should be, if you want to have an exit point, you can discuss this thing with your internal team, and then you can think about these things. So when I was working with Zenfi after the healthcare startup in India itself, we were working on a project. So I'll not give a lot of details because that project was for Apple. So Zen3 is a company that is into custom app development. So Apple wanted us to design a conversational system. So as a designer, I was working on that project for a brief time, and we had these two entry and exit points defined in the system. So we had, for example, we had hello to enter the system, and we had bye to exit the system. So similarly, you can just come up with the word and ask the ML experts or the machine learning the engineers in your company to incorporate that into the system. So I'm telling this from my experience that this is possible, and you can choose basically any word. So it's not rocket science.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it has to be a teamwork, like that's what is needed. That's good. That's good. So Faizan has a question that actually I also need an answer to. So his question is, you have mentioned you read a lot of books and articles. I wanted to ask how you go about choosing what to read and go about retaining whatever you read.
Choosing what to read is still simple. Retaining what to read is something I'm still struggling with, honestly, because I have to go back to a lot of books again and again to find some information, because I think I can't remember things so vividly in my memory. It's a thing. So yeah, about choosing books to read, first thing is I try to I follow a lot of people on Medium, on Instagram, and most of the recommendations come from there. So on Instagram, if someone has uploaded a book, and if I find it interesting, if they have uploaded a small text with it, like hey, I learned this from this book, and if I find it interesting, most probably I will order that book. Doesn't matter if I read it right away or it just keeps lying in my cupboard for 6 months, but I will order it for sure. So that happens. And retaining the information is honestly difficult because information retainment happens when you work on something. If I
That's
work on a project in which I used something that I learned, then I will remember it for my life. But if I've not worked on something and I just read it in a book and then I closed it and kept it away, I'll forget about it in maybe a month or two. So yeah, to retain the information, I will say that if you want to retain some kind of information, have a project for yourself where you work over the weekend, or maybe whenever you're free, and you use those things in that project, and definitely you will remember everything.
that's true. One thing I don't know, I mean, if they were like, this was of course very, very useful. The fact that you have to, so like we are adults, and the pedagogy with kids is that you can actually teach them and they'll retain. But
Yeah,
with adults, there's no other way but to actually learn it by practicing. Like this has been the research and everything. This has been widely researched. So of course, practice makes sense. Another thing which I think we need to talk about, all these people who love reading, me included, is that recently I've observed that you need to let go of the guilt of not completing a book. So earlier, when I used to have a book, I used to read it cover to cover. I might not be enjoying it at that moment, or I might actually want to switch to a new one. But I used to have this guilt that I have to complete it, otherwise it would be incomplete, and I need to complete it. I think what I have observed is that it's okay to read some excerpt, maybe from middle of the book if it makes sense. So I have these days started treating my books as textbooks, which I can go back to. So as you very nicely mentioned, that I keep going back to them, and do not have this guilt of completing the entire book. It's okay. You can leave your book aside. You can get to another book. You can come back to it. So I think that's very essential, and that has actually moved a lot of things for me, because otherwise I used to get stuck with just one book and not used to pick another because I used to feel guilty. So I think, and that's with a lot of people I've talked to. So it's very important to not have that sort of guilt with you.
right.
Yeah, on that note, Shubham has asked another question with respect to books. Um, Ashley has asked this to both of us. So, last question: books both of you would recommend. A recent read you both may have read. He's on a small break on Diwali. So, yeah, Mehek, what are the books that you are reading or you would recommend?
Okay, show me you're asking too many questions.
Yeah.
It's getting interesting. So yeah, the latest book that I've read is Start With Why. I
That's a
guess
good one.
everybody should read it. No, I haven't completed it, so I'm with you on this. I don't complete all the books. I guess the big bookshelf I have is with like 20 books. I have started all of them. I'm somewhere in the middle in all the books, and I've completed not even single one. So yeah, but the ones that I completed was during my college time. The one that I recommend to every designer, like read it like your life depends on it. It's like first book is Don't Make Me Think,
Oh,
and this
wow. Yeah.
is Design of Everyday Things. It's very very good. Like Don Norman is considered like the father of UX, so you must Design of Everyday Things like like it's a religious book. Read it like that, and
Yeah,
you
it's Bible.
yeah, it's a Bible for UX designers. It's Gita. It's Holy Quran. Read it. It's a religious book because actually you will learn a lot from it. And Don't Make Me Think is again also the book entirely is about common sense. But then in every single chapter you will find that these are the things that we all do subconsciously or even despite knowing about them, we all make some mistakes and we all even if we're designers, we all make those mistakes regularly. So yeah, these are the two books I recommend to every single designer. But apart from that, there are many books. There is Hooked
That's
by
amazing.
Neil Ayar, I guess. Yes. And
Yeah, yeah.
then there is Start With Why. Then there are some other books also that I've read. So yeah, you can read them, and I'm sure you'll learn something out of them.
That's amazing. Yeah, like Design for Everyday Things. And of course, Don't Make Me Think is a book which is amazing. So I recently took a UX immersion program, and I could not tell you, like, for every class, there were 16 classes, and for every class, I went back to the same book. It's like a textbook. You cannot miss it. It's really like it would probably take you 2 hours to like skim through the entire content, but the learnings are for lifetime.
Yeah,
And it also, the last section on usability is amazing. Please read it, it's amazing. So that's a book that's really good.
yes. Every single time you read that book, you will learn new things. It's like it's amazing because you read the book once and you think, okay, I know so much stuff. Next time, maybe after 2 months when you read it, your perspective about it has changed and you learn new things out of it. So this is again, as you said, this is also one book that I keep referring to as well.
So it's an amazing, amazing book. Yeah. So Shubham, for me, the books that I recently, one book that I recently read is this. It's 12 Rules for Life. It's a little heavy one, but it's really good. It just makes you question, why are we so twisted? Why are humans so twisted? And what are our motivations to do things? So I have not also read it because it's a little heavy. The one that I recently completed is Indistractable by Nirial. So it's funny that he first talked about how you can design products which are like, which can keep you hooked. So he actually talks a lot about addictions, how you can habit formation, and then in Indistractable he talks about how you can break those patterns. So it's a really nice book, and it's highly recommended, really good. Indistractable is a good one. And then this is the one that I plan to read on my Diwali break. It's Four Agreements, the Four Agreements. So yeah, these are the two books I would recommend, Shubham. So I think our questions are done, Mehek. It was lovely, lovely having you and having this conversation about pretty much everything,
Yeah,
UX, books, writing, everything. So I'm so glad, you were here, and I hope to see you soon. So I would I think Rohan would join and take over, and he'll make some announcements. So I'll see you soon, Mehek, backstage.
sure.
Thank you, everybody who joined today. We'll see you in the next session.
Yeah,
Bye.
sure.
Thank you so much, Mehak. It was an amazing session, and so, you can see all the comments, and if you go back to the comments, you'll see all these amazing comments. Just I think Anita was trying to get our attention. I think she calls you Bua, so she's saying hi, Bua. So do if
That's my niece.
okay, so this is good. This is really good, I think. So thank you so much, Mehak, for the session. This was amazing. It was if I talk about it, it's the future of how products would be designed, but it's the present. Like, it's not so far ahead in the future. We are actually seeing some things with GPT-3 and the whole conversational UX sort of things. So thank you so much for being here. We loved hosting you. There are 26 people still here, and I'm thankful to you for doing this session and everyone else who is here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. I really enjoyed, and I guess people will like to go back to this session and see some of the things. And I believe everyone who joined today has learned one or maybe two new things from this session. So that was the agenda.
Yeah, true, true. So, coming back, so I think, guys, if you like this session, do check out. We have an awesome playlist with some amazing speakers from the industry, and these are some really good speakers that we love talking to, and Meg is one of them. But the fun doesn't stop here, right? Like, it's just the beginning, and we are bringing some of the most amazing people. You guys requested that we want to get these people on the platform, so I'll take over the screen. Thank you, Mehek. I'll
Yeah.
see you backstage in 5 minutes. Cool. So let me talk about two updates that we have. First is, I would like to tell you about the next session that we are going to host. This session is with Ivy Mukherjee. You might know her from her days at Ola, Grofers, Grab, Shopify, and all these places. And she's now a lead senior designer, a senior product designer at Bumble. So we will be hosting her next Sunday, same time, and let me show you what she's going to talk about. Um, so she is going to talk about three things. First, she's going to give you a framework to accelerate your impact in the organization. Second, she's going to talk about how communication helps you in that bit, and how should you she has a very good way of articulating this, and I had a chat with her, and it was amazing, and you're going to love it. The third is, she after worked in 4 countries, I think. Like, till the time I tell you, she might have changed the country again. So I don't know, right? So she's going to talk about how do you work in different cultures, different countries, and how do you design products for them. So this is going to be super amazing on Bumble. Like, in Bumble, she's working on some of the biggest problems, and like, talking about them, it's not just a dating platform, it's a meeting platform, and it's a friendship platform, and more such, and how she's designing for those interaction in this COVID times. It's going to be amazing conversation. You should definitely join us for that. The second thing I want to talk about is this problem that we are solving with a new product that we are launching. It's called Match, right? Match by Design Sundays. So Match by Design Sundays is a product that we have built to solve a few problems that we have noticed in like, when we talk to freshers about finding a job. And in with this product, we are solving this problem. So let me give you a quick glance, like, how this works and how is it. So let me quickly share my screen again. So so Matches this platform. It we handpick jobs. It's a curation based platform, basically, where you'll be able to see like, job posts from various companies, starting with like, fresher levels to going up to 5 years, and senior levels as well. You can sort by full time, internship, and as you like. We update it twice a week so that you get the latest and the greatest every single time. And with that, we do understand that you need help preparing for the application of the job. So we are also adding this bit we are calling the job guide. And in this, you will be getting some of the key things that you should take care while you talk about it. And it's not going to be more than 3 minutes ever. So we are building this on the back as well. So do check this out. We'll be making it live to everyone. Like, we actually made it live for everyone to check it out. We'll be launching it on Product Hunt tomorrow. Look forward to, like, getting your support. And we are so excited to see how you guys use it, and like, make your career, like, take your careers to the next level. Thank you so much for joining. It was an amazing session, amazing day. Enjoy your rest of the Sunday, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.